Hey folks, welcome back to another comparison video with yours truly, Sam Healey, and today I'm going to take a look at these two guys right here, Kingsburg and Alien Frontiers. I've heard a lot of people comparing these two games, and you know, I really would rather not, but the more I thought about it, they do have a lot of similarities. They're both dice rolling games where you are taking those dice and placing them on different places on the board in order to, at some point, gain more resources, and at other points, build certain structures and that type of stuff. They do have a couple of differences as well, which make them a little bit more different, I think. But let's take a look at each one, and then we'll try to come to a conclusion. So the first one here we're going to look at is Kingsburg. Now, Kingsburg is a dice placement game that has a fantasy theme on it, where you are the mayor, I guess you could say, of a colony or a village, and you are trying to build up your defenses in your town so that you can withstand the oncoming attackers at the end of each year. There's going to be ogres or barbarians or demons or some kind of evil, nasty horde that is going to be attacking your village and everybody else's village at the end of the year, and you are wanting to withstand that attack or defeat it. Defeat it is always, of course, the better option. But you're trying to take your dice and place them on different places within the king and queen's court, different people, so that you are vying for their favor, so to speak, so that they will give you resources that you will need to build up the defenses of your town and try to withstand that attack. There's a lot of player interaction, because once one person in that king's court has been chosen by somebody else, nobody else can go there. There's a caveat to that, but generally speaking, that's the case. So using the numbers that have been rolled on your dice effectively is where a lot of the decision-making process is. Then you take the resources that you've been given, and then during the building phase, you would build one of the buildings in your village, and then that building will give you some type of ability that you can use on another round. Your combat ability is determined by a number of different things. It's determined by how many forces the king sends to the battle. It's determined by what kind of buildings you have built up. So there are a number of different things that go into how you're able to withstand that final battle during the winter season of each year. But Kingsburg has a very cool, streamlined gameplay that allows the people to have actually kind of different villages at the end of the game. You can choose what row you want to focus on, and then each person generally chooses different rows, and so that gives a little bit of differentiation between the players at the end of the game. So has a little bit of a feeling of you're building your own clan, so to speak, throughout the game, and then at the end, your clan is in varying degrees different than everybody else's clan. So that's a cool thing about it too. So that's Kingsburg. Now, Alien Frontiers is also a dice placement game, although it has a science fiction theme to it, where you are trying to build the most colonies first. The person who builds all of their colonies first is when the game ends, and then everybody calculates their points based upon what they've done throughout the game. You get 1 point for each colony that you have on the board. You get 1 point for each territory on the planet that you control. and you get a number of different victory points for different cards that are out as well. So whoever has the most victory points at the end of the game wins. Alien Frontiers is simply one person taking their dice, rolling them, and then allocating what the dice that they are able to allocate in one certain area. And then those dice stay out there until the beginning of their next turn. So there's a similarity there with Kingsburg in that if my dice are in a certain area, you cannot put your dice in that area. But it's a little bit different because it's going to stay that way until it comes to my turn. So everybody is going to be able to place dice. And if you're going last, you have very few choices at your behest. Whereas with Kingsburg, the number of dice that you rolled is more determinant upon what you're going to be able to do with it, not necessarily just where other people have gone. So with that, I think with Alien Frontiers, it's a little bit of a tighter game. Now, with that being said, Alien Frontiers also has, and again, I'm just going with base games here. I'm not really talking about any of the expansions or anything like that. So with an expansion of Alien Frontiers, you do have some differentiation between each player with the different factions that you can choose to be part of. But with just the base game, everybody is pretty vanilla. You're all vanilla mining companies going out and trying to build their own colonies and all of this kind of stuff, and there's no real differentiation between other players. The only differentiation that really happens within Alien Frontiers is when you control a certain territory on the planet. That is when you have more differentiation between other people, because now you can do something that nobody else can do. So there is a little bit of differentiation between players in that respect. I guess you could call it a player power, but it really isn't, because it can be taken away from you if somebody else has more colonies in that area than you do. So Alien Frontiers and Kingsburg are similar, yeah. Alien Frontiers, though, I enjoy for different reasons. It does play a little bit longer than Kingsburg, so it's a little bit more of a thinky game, so to speak, and it has a little bit more of a time investment, which doesn't necessarily bother me. But it is more of a gamer's game, I guess you could say, than Kingsburg is. Both of these are dice rolling and then placing. So dice placement is the main mechanic in both of these games. It's a mechanic that I really enjoy. Worker placement is one of those mechanisms that really kind of hook me for whether or not I'm going to like or dislike a game. I guess you could say I'm more prone to like a game that is worker placement or dice placement. So I enjoy both of these games. So there is that. That is a similarity. They are both dice placement games. They are both resource management games where you are taking resources, you are gaining resources from where you place your dice, and you're using those resources to build something. So that is another similarity between the two. If in Alien Frontiers you're simply gaining more resources to either build more ships or to build more colonies. So that's pretty much it for Alien Frontiers. With Kingsburg, you're gaining more resources to build more defenses or more statues or more buildings within your town. All of that being to get the most points, with the caveat being that you need to survive at least, preferably beat that attacking horde in the winter to do better. So I think there's a little bit more theme wrapped up in Kingsburg than Alien Frontiers. So that's one of their differences, since we're there. Theme. This is a fantasy theme with Kingsburg, and this is a science fiction theme with Alien Frontiers. Probably Alien Frontiers has the more palatable theme for a wider range of people, whereas Kingsburg, with the use of demons and goblins and all of that kind of stuff, the magical realm, so to speak, this, you might run into some people somewhere that would rather not play a fantasy-themed or magically themed game. So there is that. So take it or leave it. One of their differences, I think, is that with Alien Frontiers, you have less of an ability to feel like your own person. With Alien Frontiers, you are simply just another player trying to do the same thing that everybody else is trying to do in somewhat of a more efficient manner. Kingsburg is kind of the same way, except I think you have more ability to have a varied town in Kingsburg than you do in Alien Frontiers, because of the different rows you can take, and some of them might be more advantageous to point scoring than others, but some of them might be better at fighting off those hordes at the end of the year. So I think there's more ability to have player variation within Kingsburg, while there is less ability to have player variation in Alien Frontiers. So they are both victory point games where the ultimate goal is to get the most victory points. However, I think that Alien Frontiers is a little bit more structured as far as what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to get the points. The number of ways that you can get points in Alien Frontiers is less than the number of ways that you can get points in Kingsburg. And so, some of the towns buildings will get you points. Some of the actual people that you're going to be asking for resources from in the King's Court will give you points. Sometimes you have to use points to do certain things, to get certain resources and so forth and so on. So there is an ebb and flow with victory points here, whereas with Alien Frontiers, it's pretty much just do that, build this, get that victory point at the end of the game. Do that, build this, conquer that territory. That's a victory point at the end of the game for you. So there's a little bit more of a variation on how you get victory points in Kingsburg than you do in Alien Frontiers. But again, at the end of the day, whoever has the most victory points wins. So all in all, my conclusion here is quite simply this. These are both great games. I like them both, but they're at different levels. Kingsburg is more of a gateway style dice placement, worker placement game, I think, whereas Alien Frontiers has a little bit more meat to it, and it has a little bit more of a gamer's game type feel to it. They're both games that I will readily play at any point in time, provided that the time allows. And as we're talking about time, Alien Frontiers does have a little bit more of a time investment than Kingsburg does. It plays a little bit faster, but not too much faster. A 4-player game of Alien Frontiers will usually, I would imagine, go longer than a 4-player game of Kingsburg. And then if you go up above that, well, you're just kind of crazy. Both are similar. I would say Kingsburg plays a little bit faster than Alien Frontiers, but not enough to really make a difference. The difference really comes with the game weight. And I think here with Kingsburg, you're talking about light, family fun, whereas with Alien Frontiers, still able to play with the family, depends on the family, I guess you could say, but this is a little bit heavier, a little bit more thought-provoking gameplay in this one than with Kingsburg. So, final conclusion is quite simply, I enjoy Kingsburg more often, simply because I can get it to the table because it's a little bit lighter and it plays a little bit faster. But I really do enjoy Alien Frontiers as well. It's a little bit longer, but it has the meat that Kingsburg lacks. So there you have it. Come to your own conclusions. See you in the comments. And I'll see you on the flip side, folks.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.